Hello everyone, it's Jeannie again, if you've seen me before. If you haven't, well, welcome to my channel. Leo is in here with me. That's a change, usually it's Sputnik, but Leo slipped in, so he may or may not decide to make an appearance on camera. I don't know. Are you going to come up here, Leo? Anyway, yeah. And then the one you haven't seen lately is Apollo, the other cat. Can you hear him purring across the room? Anyway, I hope you're all doing well. Today we are going to read from a couple of articles from the Ladies' Home Journal from February of 1917. We went through this before in a Friday flip and just kind of thumbing through it. These things are substantial. These gave women a lot of reading, There are lots of stories, and the stories aren't short, they're long. I went through and I picked out, I think, 3 topics that will probably fill up this video. And if you want more, just let me know in the comments. Janie, we want more. Before we get started, do you remember several weeks ago I tried those barbecue chips from Snackish? Well, they're sponsoring this video. Thank you to Snackish. Have you seen them? They're in Target. Today I have the salt-kissed potato crisps. Let me tell you, the barbecue flavor went down so well. I mean, who doesn't love a good barbecue chip? But kind of like when I go to an Italian restaurant, I judge that Italian restaurant by their lasagna, right? I judge a good chip company by their regular chips, and that's what we're going to try today. I love the barbecue, but I want to try, and I saved these for last, just the salt-kissed potato crisps, and I'll tell you about them. I have not opened them. I have not broken in because I am weak. I loved the barbecue ones so much. I ate more than I meant to because I was sharing them with my bunko group. So I'm going to use the scissors because I don't want to make too much noise. Look at these cool scissors. Can you see these? They are super sharp. They smell so good. Let me tell you something about these and why they're so awesome and better than a regular potato chip. They have 8 grams of protein per serving. They're gut-happy fiber, and they use 100% avocado oil. So, good source of protein, gut-happy fiber. 100% avocado oil is what they're made with. They're dairy-free and plant-based. The seasonings are just off the charts. They are kosher, gluten-free, and delicious. Now, I know you haven't come on this video to watch me eat, but I tell you, I could eat a quarter of this bag in one sitting. No flavor, just the salt. And this is so good. You don't have to apologize for enjoying these. These are dang good. Let me know, have you seen these? They're at Target. If you're walking through Target, pick them up. They come in all kinds of flavors, and they're fantastic. So, elevate your chip eating. Thank you, Snackish, for sending these to me. And you can go to their website, check them out, find them at the store, and you're going to start seeing them in more and more stores. So, but I promise you, I'm not going to eat them throughout the whole video. I'll wait till after. Okay. Come here. This is Leo, my big boy. No microphones, Leo. Come here. Oh! Whoops. He just took my whole leather tablecloth. Okay. Oh, Leo. Okay, look, Leo. We gotta make this work. There we go. Okay, let's start again. When I am done with this magazine, I am going to wrap it and store it. Thank you to somebody who told me about the acid-free paper and tissue paper. I mean, it's almost 110 years old. I don't want it being ruined on my watch. So I got a whole bunch, and it wasn't expensive. And it looks like regular tissue paper. But this will help preserve it. And I have a trunk with some other old things. That's Leo. Of my grandparents and great-grandparents. So this is what I will wrap it in, as well as the one that was from, what was it, 1894. 1894. Okay. He says he's going to lay down there. All right. I'll put a link also to the last video that went through this whole magazine briefly, even though it was long. But today's video will just be focusing on a few of the articles. These mics are pretty good, and Leo, I'm wondering if you can hear his purring even across the room. Leo. What? So, here are the articles that I picked out. The first one, and I won't turn on the overhead because there's really nothing to see. I'll show you this. And the title is, Suppose America Does Go Dry. It's an editorial. Now, what does that mean? Well, let me tell you a little bit about that. Depending on your age, you may or may not have heard of prohibition. Now, prohibition came after just about after this, so this is 1917, it was ratified in 1919. So let me tell you a little bit about what happened, and then you can put this into context. So was enacted January 17th, 1920, and it went for 13 years, 10 months, and 19 days. But who was counting? It ended on December 5th, 1933. So this was written or published February of 1917. So in 1919, 2 years later after this article came out, the 18th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified, and it banned the manufacture, sale, and transportation of intoxicating liquors. So in January, that's when it officially took effect. It was called the National Prohibition Act, commonly kind of known as the Volstead Act. From 1920 to 1933, alcohol was illegal to manufacture, transport, and sell, but not always illegal to possess or consume. Many people still drink by visiting secret bars called speakeasies. They made homemade liquor or they bought from bootleggers. So in 1933, 30 years later, the 21st Amendment to the United States Constitution repealed prohibition, Jeannie, watch your hands. Making it the only constitutional amendment ever repealed by another amendment. So there's some constitutional trivia for you. So why did it end? Here, it's starting to go into it, and it went for 13 years, full force, and then it ended. Why? Well, organized crime flourished as gangs made fortunes smuggling and selling illegal alcohol. Here's another one. Oh, are we surprised with this? The government lost valuable tax revenue from alcohol sales, which became especially important during the Great Depression. And many Americans just grew tired of the law, and it was becoming widely ignored and difficult to enforce. Another thing is for communion, for Holy Communion, they did allow wine, communion wine, for Catholic, and I'm not sure if non-Catholics used wine for communion, but that was an exception. So as a winemaker, I kind of remember learning about how certain vineyards did not get ripped out. A lot of them did and were turned into fruit orchards and whatnot, but many did not, because they needed to continue to make wine for religious purposes. And I think that took a broad stroke of what fell under religious, winemaking. So it's a fascinating, look back into this. So this article is called "Suppose America Does Go Dry." Well, we know it did for 13 years, so I thought I'd highlight some of this in this article. So, just 1/2 of the states of the Union have now declared, by votes of their people, that no more alcoholic liquor shall be bought or sold within their borders. So it's happening state by state. Other states will undoubtedly join the 24 already on the side of no drinks until the necessary 3/4 of all states are obtained to ratify an amendment to the Constitution. That national prohibition of the importation, manufacture, and sale of alcoholic liquors is coming. No student of public affairs can fail to see. The onward sweep of the prohibition movement in this country is not based on sentiment. It rests on the practical basis of health and efficiency. The figures of insurance companies covering over 2 million of cases. You know what? It's so tiny, I'm going to use a marker. Plainly point to the fact that a man who drinks, even moderately, stands no chance, so far as long life is concerned, with the man who abstains. The whole question simmers down to a mere mathematical calculation. You drink so much alcohol and you drink so many years from your life. Hence, insurance companies are becoming more careful every day about insuring the man who drinks. They don't say women. The railroads and the large industrial corporations will no longer employ him on the simple basis of efficiency. The European armies won't have him, and the American Navy don't want him. The man who drinks, in other words, is being put aside from his fellow men and by his fellow men. But when national prohibition comes, will it be effective? We must remember that where states go dry, it is by reason of a majority vote, but not by a vote of the whole people. Of course, such a unanimous vote is hardly possible on any question, but to enforce a law that has not back of it an overwhelming public opinion is always difficult. There is no doubt about the large influence of any measure that makes any habit of a people unrespectable and illegal. But that does not mean its effective enforcement. You minimize the evil, but do not eradicate it. It is still with you. So, you cannot legislate a drunkard into an abstainer. You may make it more difficult for him to get his drink. You may make it less respectable for him to be seen drunk. But no law is enforced or can be enforced in any government of the people, such as ours, unless an overwhelming majority of the people want it enforced. So, we must be careful in this question not to get the cart before the horse, to legislate before we convince. We cannot spend too much effort or time to educate the people to a conviction that alcohol is an absolute foe of health and efficiency. Mere sentiment goes not far with the average man. He is practical, and you must appeal to his intelligence and reason. Convince him that he will live longer, work better, become more of a producer, and you are arguing along a line that is far more effective with him than moral suasion and the arguments of 10 nights in a barroom. So, drinking, and we don't care how little, makes you less efficient, and so you are worth less to us. So they're saying employers aren't going to employ you if you drink. So anyway, it's really, I think, an interesting look back. We shall need every man and woman back of the law for its enforcement. Once it is enacted, we shall need every brain to overcome the evils that it will bring with it. And that means the education of all people, and for that we should strive. Well, they got 13 years of it. But again, it just created a black market. It didn't end drinking. I'm a winemaker. I'm not currently making any wine, but I am not and never have been a big drinker. Just a little bit. I like to taste, and that's enough for me. But I know people who can't just taste. 1 turns into 3, which turns into 10, which turns into a 3-day blackout. So, but do we put sanctions on an entire nation because of them? And I think that is one of the reasons it didn't work. Not, and I'm grateful to 12-step programs because I know people in them and who it has helped. So, but again, not everyone who drinks, is evil. So, yeah, it was interesting. So, and then moonshining, they made alcohol in stills out of potatoes and grain and all kinds of things. So, okay, that's one of the articles. Let me know your thoughts on that. Okay, there was another article, and I'll save this one, the second one, for last. I'll jump to this third. I really like this. I think it's interesting. It's called The Best I Can Do for $1 a Day. And it's by Mrs. Anna B. Scott. And it talks about what she made and all the recipes in a week for $1 a day. So I thought I'd read to you her menu, starting with Sunday and ending with Saturday, a typical week for $1 a day, which comes to, and I'll tell you what she bought, for $7.07. Okay, Sunday, breakfast, cooked cereal, sugar and milk, griddle cakes with syrup, cocoa or coffee. Lunch, and they call it luncheon or supper. We'll call it lunch. Fried cornmeal mush with cheese. Cornmeal mush with cheese. Stewed fruit. Bread and oleomargarine. Margarine. And then tea. And dinner was pot roast with thick brown gravy, potatoes, onions and carrots, bread, and for dessert, steamed apple dumplings. Monday breakfast is oatmeal with dates and milk, poached eggs on toast, bread and fruit butter, and coffee or cocoa. That's an awesome breakfast. And then lunch was rice with cheese sauce, stewed apples, bread and margarine, and tea. Dinner was split pea soup, meatloaf, baked potatoes and onions, cocoa pudding, and bread and margarine and tea. Tuesday breakfast, wheat cereal with brown sugar and milk. I think that would be like cream of wheat. We had that a lot growing up. Fried bacon and gravy, bread and fruit butter and coffee or cocoa. Lunch was pea soup from Monday's leftovers, fried bananas, bread and margarine, and tea. Dinner was hamburger steak, mashed or boiled potatoes, stewed celery. I've never had that. Never even heard of it. Cereal pudding, bread and margarine. Wednesday was sliced bananas for breakfast with oatmeal, milk and sugar, boiled eggs, bread and margarine, coffee or cocoa. And then, let's see, so that was up to Tuesday. Wednesday, where's Wednesday? Breakfast. That was Wednesday's breakfast. Then lunch was celery soup, hashed potatoes, bread and margarine and tea. Dinner was rice, onions, and tomatoes with bacon and stewed carrots. Rice, onions, tomatoes with bacon. Interesting. And stewed carrots, fruit roly-poly, and bread and margarine. Thursday's breakfast was stewed fruit, oatmeal mush with milk and sugar, toasted bread with margarine or fruit butter. Give me the fruit butter. And coffee or cocoa. Then lunch was fried hominy in bacon drippings, warmed over carrots, again leftovers, bread and margarine and tea. Dinner was vegetable chowder with meat, rice pudding, and bread and margarine. Then Friday breakfast was oatmeal with dates and milk, fried cornmeal mush with syrup, coffee or cocoa. Lunch was vegetable soup, bread and margarine, toasted fruit sandwiches, and tea. Dinner was lima bean loaf with bacon. Lima bean loaf with bacon. Stewed tomatoes, rice mold with raisins, bread and margarine. And then Saturday breakfast was stewed fruit, cooked cereal, cornmeal griddle cakes, coffee or cocoa. Lunch was lima bean soup, cranberry shortcake, bread and margarine, and tea. And dinner, ooh, this sounds good, brisket in casserole with vegetables, cranberries and raisin Betty, and bread and margarine. Interesting. So here's the lima bean loaf with bacon recipe. So you have a 1/4 pound of thinly sliced bacon, 3 cups of lima beans, some salt, pepper, grated onions, parsley, egg, breadcrumbs, and a cream sauce. That's it. You soak the lima beans overnight, drain, boil, cook until tender, and then you strain and mush them up, and you turn it into a mash, add the egg and seasonings, and you're basically making that loaf, a lima bean loaf. I'll bet it's way better for you than many things from today. Okay, now, here is what her weekly grocery order was for a family of 4 for 1 week. So 14 loaves of bread at 6 cents each, 7 quarts of milk at 10 cents each, and I'll just go through: a pound of bacon, 1.5 pounds of stewing meat, a pound of hamburger steak, brisket soup meat, a shin bone, a dozen eggs, American cheese, a peck of potatoes, excuse me, a half a peck of potatoes, onions, carrots, celery, cranberries, can of tomatoes, lima beans, split peas, bananas, apples, dates, raisins, peaches, margarine, 2 pounds in a week. Oh my goodness. Syrup, flour, cornmeal, baking powder, barley, rice, hominy, oatmeal, wheat cereal, granulated sugar at 7 cents. Wow. Brown sugar, coffee, cocoa, and tea. And that came to $7.07 for a week for a family of 4. Well, $1 in 1917. I did the inflation calculator. $1 in today's money, 2026, was almost $28. So $27.93 to be exact. So that comes to $189 a week. So let's just call it $200. That's $800 a month for a grocery budget. So $7 a week sounds wow, but it's all in comparison. I'll put a picture of this so you can see how much things cost. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. Okay, tell me what you think about that. You know, the price of food and groceries, it goes up and down. Certain things go up. Eggs for a while, a couple of years ago, were crazy, and you know, they've come back down where I am anyway. And I try to buy organic as much as possible, and also farmers market organic if I can when we have farmers markets. So, okay. Okay. And last but not least, this is the stories that Mother tells at bedtime. So we're going to finish this off with a bedtime story. There are 3, but I'm not going to read all 3 because that would be another half hour. Okay. We'll read the one called The Frost Fairy's Valentine. The Frost Fairy's Valentine. When the children were sick with the measles, they were banished to the nursery. This type is so tiny. We are missing all the fun outdoors, sliding and skating, grumbled John. Yes, and at school too, sighed Jane, and tomorrow at St. Valentine's Day, and we shall miss the box and all the celebrations. It is too bad, said their mother, but you cannot send out valentines this year, you know, for no one wants a valentine from a camp of measles. But be brave, soldiers, and maybe your friends will not forget you. I wish we could go out and see our forest friends, said John. It is such fun to follow their tracks through the white snow. I wonder what our rabbits and squirrels are doing now that it is so cold, sighed Jane. And our poor little chickadees will be so hungry. The animals have their food stored away for the winter, said their mother, and I will go out and give the chickadees some crumbs. Now the forest people missed the children, and so they asked Jack Frost to put a message from them upon their window. And that night, when it was very cold, Jack Frost came and blew with his cold breath upon the window pane, And in the morning the children could not look through the glass, for the window was dazzling with silvery brightness. "Look, Mother," exclaimed John. "Just see this wonderful picture on the window. I can see a steep hill of snow. How I wish I could slide down it. Jack Frost is sending us an invitation to come outdoors and play." "The Frost Fairies, the dear Frost Fairies," said Jane, clapping her hands in glee. "It is a valentine. See, brother, they have painted a picture of a forest. Look at those tall Christmas trees standing up so straight, and those trees that look like white birches. Isn't it beautiful?" "Yes, and look, sister. I can see a little rabbit crouching down in the bushes and poking up his long ears. He is so shy that he has hidden, and see, up on that branch, there is something that looks like a squirrel." Just then the children's father came in the room. "See what I have found in our mailbox," he said, as he held up 2 fancy envelopes. "Valentines!" shouted the children in delight. "Valentines!" And they opened the envelopes and saw 2 fancy lace valentines with scrap pictures. "I am so glad that you are not forgotten," said their mother. "Oh, but Jack Frost did not forget us, Mother," said Jane. "He brought us our first and nicest valentine, and I like his snowy lace valentine on the window pane better than the store valentines. Don't you, John?" "Yes," said John, "for it is a greeting from our friends in the forest, and so I like best this valentine painted by the Frost Fairies." Well, there we go. This entire magazine would take weeks to go through for a busy wife or woman. There are so many articles. She can't sit and read it in a day or two. And I'm sure she parsed it out over, many, many days over the weeks until she got her next one. So I have some more ladies' home journals and a Woman's Day coming from a different decade. And when those come, I'll read those to you or show those to you as well. So, thank you to Snackish. Some dip would be really good with these, like a ranch or sour cream and herbs or tzatziki even. Thank you, Snackish, for sending those to me. You all go find them at your grocery stores, at Target, online. I know Amazon has them. So, I hope you enjoyed this. I did. And again, Kim from Angel on My Shoulder, thank you for sending this to me. I'm going to wrap it up and preserve it. And hopefully my kids or grandkids or great-grandkids and beyond will be able to enjoy it and look back as well. Who knows what things will be like in another 110 years. Oh, wow. So, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments. And I'm going to sign off for now. I'll see you very soon in the next video. Come on, Leo. You want to go? You want to go outside? Bye for now. I hear you.